You will not be able to stay home, brother.
No way!
We won't pay!
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 From the rivers to the sea!
Irish water will be free!
From the rivers to the sea!
Irish water will be free!
No way!
We won't pay!
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 No way!
We won't pay! We won't pay!
Picture your pocket.
Okay, folks, thanks a million for coming along today. Give yourselves a round of applause. My name is John Lyons. I'm a People Before Profit Councillor in Beaumont, Donaghmede, just up the road. And this is part of the Right to Water National Day of local protests right across the country. There's going to be over 90 different localities witnessing people power on the streets right across the country today. At least 100,000 people are going to take to the streets to let the government know loudly and clearly that they're fundamentally opposed to water charges, to the commodification and the ultimate privatisation of our water. We pay for our water already. 1.2 billion of our taxes, to which everyone contributes, pays for our water. Now they're trying to double taxes for it, and it's an absolute shambles. The quango that they set up, they've outdone Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Labour have. They've outdone them. 86 million spent on consultancies, on logos, on bonuses, on car allowances. That's our money that they're squandering, and they think we're going to accept this lying down. They have another thing coming. The 11th of October was a fundamental turning point in this country's history. 100,000 people took to the streets of Dublin city centre to say to Fine Gael and Labour, we're not having it, we're not paying twice for our water. The most decent, fairest, most equitable way to pay and provide for water is from central taxation. Your access to water should never be dependent upon how much money you have in your purse, your pocket, your bank account. It's not, right? What we saw on the streets back Saturday on the 11th of October, what I witnessed on the streets in the states and areas across the north side for 6 months is people power. I see people coming out, standing on the stopcocks, stopping contractors from Irish Water installing a water meter. They're going to spend €500 million to €1 billion putting in these stupid machines, these money-sucking machines, right? That money should be spent fixing the nation's pipes. 44%. Because it's not about conservation, it's literally about piling another tax upon middle and low income people, upon the working class in this country. We pay for everything. So where is Richard Bruton today? He's not in here. Where is Richard? He's on a trade mission over in the States. Why is he over there? What's he doing? He's actually talking about this new knowledge box that was announced in the budget. So they're scrapping the double Irish tax arrangement, which is just a little con trick to allow the big multinational corporations pay little or no tax in this country. They pay 6% tax, corporations, on billions of euros that they claim they make in this country. Hands up who pays 6% in tax in a full year. Come on, can I say show of hands? 6%. Google made 6 billion in a 3-year period, and they pay 2% in tax. Richard Bruton is over there now to reassure these big multinationals, these chief executives, don't worry, we've gotten rid of the double Irish, that little contract that we had, but we have a new contract, so that it'll remain the same. You'll pay an effective rate of just 6% tax. And what that means, that if corporations on the billions of euro that they make in profit each and every year in this country, if they're only paying 6%, some of them, Google, paying 2% in tax, what does that mean for the rest of us? That means we pick up, we carry the can. We pay for everything because they're not paying their socially responsible level of taxation. So that means we're burdened and buried with ever more taxes and levies, increases in income tax, the universal social charge, on it goes, the household charge and the property tax. But what's happening now with water is a fundamental shift in Irish politics. The government are rocked. Fine Gael and Labour don't know what they're doing. They tried to throw in some little measures in the budget to try to fuse the anger, but it's not going to work. People are taking to the streets, sensing their own power. And what I've seen on the streets for the past 6 months is people coming together, community spirit been built back up, and people actually saying to themselves, look, we do have a voice in this country. We can change things for the better. But we can only do it through people power. By getting organised in our own areas like this, putting on public meetings, having local protests, and putting the pressure on the political class, because they're only in it for themselves. Fine Gael campaigned on the platform, but they said they would introduce water charges. They did. It's in the manifesto. The Labour Party, however, who had a historic result in the general election in 2011, they campaigned on a strong platform defiantly opposed to water charges. They said that they were going to increase the capital budget so as to provide more funds for the water infrastructure so as to improve the quality of water. The minute they got into power, they betrayed us. They betrayed people straight away. Hundreds of thousands of people voted for Labour in that general election 3 years ago. And the minute they got into power and started exercising power, they forgot about their promises. No more. We cannot have this. We cannot have politicians promising one thing just to get votes, and then the minute they're in power, forgetting the people who put them in power. So if they think that we're going to allow this situation to continue, they have another thing coming. The water charges, the battle we have on our hands, has the power, the potential to topple this government. If Fine Gael and Labour, or it does, they're scared, witless. We will topple them. If they don't listen to the will of the people, the 100,000 that took to the streets on the 11th, the 100,000 and more who are going to take to the streets in 90 localities across the country, if they don't listen, right, and if they don't actually take note of what we plan for next, which is Wednesday, the 10th of December, is going to be the next national mobilisation of the Right to Water campaign, where we could have 200,000-300,000 on the streets of Dublin surrounding Cllr. We will topple them. We will. So if they want to save their own political hides, which is what the 12 councillors belonging to Fine Gael did on Galway County Council, they voted for a motion that says we need to scrap the water charges. Why did they do that in Galway, the Fine Gael councillors? Because they know which way the wind is blowing, and they want to save their council seats. They want to have a nice long political career that ends up with them in the door and then leave them with a big fat pension at the end of it. So they know which way the wind is blowing. So we have to make it clear to that bubble in Leinster House that this is what the people demand. We demand the abolition of the Water Services Act 2013, which will scrap the water charges. That's all. No more. We don't want any free allowances. We don't want any tax credits. We want nothing. We want nothing but the fundamental scrapping of the water charges.
We won't pay!
Okay, folks, as I mentioned earlier, this is a national day of local protest called by the Right to Water campaign, which is a coalition of progressive trade unions such as Unite, Mandate, the CPSU and OPATSI, and political parties such as my own, People Before Profit, Sinn Féin and others. It's a broad coalition and there's two key elements to it. First is to declare loudly that water is a human right, and secondly that we demand the repeal of the Water Services Act 2013, which will lead to the abolition of the water charges. Simple. Two key elements which we demand. There got 100,000 people on the streets of Dublin 3 weeks ago, and which today in 90 localities across Ireland will have at least that number, maybe more, 150, 200,000, who knows. But the key thing is that it's happening like this in communities right across the country. This is a movement of people power that can bring real change to Irish society. That's what we have. Because what that party does Aodhán O'Ríordáin is the local TD, and you have Jane Horgan-Jones, the local councillor. They've corroded, they've debased, they've abused the very idea of democracy, right? We vote for them. People voted for them 3 years ago on a strong platform to violently oppose the water charges. The Labour Party, in their manifesto, have a read of it, it's rather clear, it says the Labour Party is opposed to the introduction of water charges, that they would increase the capital budget to improve and enhance the water infrastructure and the quality of our water. And what do we find 3 years hence? We find that they're all out, having sold any moral principle or ethical bone in their body. They're now justifying the commodification, the double taxation that is the water charge. Shame on them. Shame, shame, shame on you. 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 And the only thing we can do, because 6 years ago there was a global crisis of capitalism where the greed of developers and bankers the world over and in this little country of ours caused a major meltdown in the financial system right across the Western world, which led in this country a population of just some 4.5 million to us handing over 64 billion euro of public money, of our money, to the 6 banking institutions. Private banking institutions. We have no obligation to pay for the crimes and irresponsibility, the avarice, the greed of a tiny elite in this country and right across Europe who invested in Irish banks because there was a huge, huge speculative boom in property. We've been lumbered with 8 budgets over these past 6 years which have attacked the working class. They've gone after us relentlessly, budget after budget after budget. They targeted us, they have targeted us. It's shameful what they've done. The justifications for cutting 1 million hours of home help back in 2012 is a particular issue I have. 1 million hours of home help that Fine Gael and Labour cut. To save 8 million euro, they decided to cut 1 million hours of home help. Who depends upon home help? Elderly people, sick people, children with life-limiting illnesses, and they decide to save a measly 8 million euro to cut 1 million hours. The shameful, shameful behaviour, the rotten politics that they espouse has to be gotten rid of. And we have it on the streets. This is how we'll change this country for the better. We have to topple this government and get them out, root them out every which way we can. And the next, I want to open it up for people, this is an open mic, it's not about any one person, but just to say that the Right to Water campaign has called for a national demonstration. Today is about a national day of localised protests right across the country. But on the 10th of December, which is a Wednesday, at 1 p.m, is the next national mobilisation where we want people from every county across Ireland to travel up to Dublin, and we're going to surround the door, demand the repeal of the Water Services Act, the abolition of the water charges, or that government will topple. That government will topple. Because we have it. This is democracy in the streets. This is people claiming back democracy. This is how we should decide as a society, as an economy. We all contribute to taxes, to general taxation. We all do, whether we work, whether we buy goods and services, whether we contribute directly or indirectly. We should decide as a society how that wealth is spent. What do we spend it on? We spend it on the health of the nation, the education of the nation, our transport, our infrastructure, and our water. I'll say it till the cows come home, until I'm old and grey, because I'm already bald. Right? That water, people's access to water, never, ever should be dependent upon how much money you have. Never. Right? And just because other countries have water charges doesn't mean we should follow a bad example. It's been proven internationally that the introduction of water charges, a consumption-based charge for water, rather than paying for it through general taxation, is hugely regressive. It hits people on middle-low incomes the hardest. The rich can absorb a water charge. It doesn't matter if it'll affect them. They can blink, they won't feel the pinch. But for the rest of us, it's proven to be hugely regressive right across Britain, France, Germany, Canada, the US. Wherever they've done this, it's proven to be hugely inequitous, hugely unfair. And what we have in this country right now is 1.25 million people already suffering with deprivation. They're living in constant poverty, struggling with food, poverty, fuel poverty, and now Fine Gael and the Labour Party, most shamefully the Labour Party, the party of Larkin and Connolly, shockingly want us to now contend with water poverty. The shameful behaviour of the Irish political class. They look after themselves and the rich. They saw with the budget. They give tax breaks to the top 17% of income earners in this country at the same time as they're introducing a hugely regressive water charge. Shame on them. Shame on them. But we have the power. I've seen it across Dublin, but also in Dublin over the past 6 months. People literally coming together, neighbours rediscovering that community spirit by stopping the installation of water meters outside their streets and their neighbouring streets. It's been absolutely amazing. The state has come back with the Gardaí, they've come back with High Court injunctions. None of us has scared any person away, because we know what we're doing is right. It's a fundamental human need, water, and we're not going to be scared off the streets. We're not. We have to stay on the streets. So just to say, locally, there's leaflets going around. We have a local meeting on November the 12th. It's a Wednesday in Cllr, the community centre up by the church in Donnycarney there. We have leaflets which I think are being given out. So what I'm going to suggest from here at the end is that I can have more leaflets, thousands of leaflets at Cllr next Tuesday at 6 p.m. if people wanted to pick them up. You know, so that we can build up a huge local right to water campaign. And I know that there's other people organising for the meeting in Granger's on the 19th. So there's going to be lots of local activity. We can't be complacent. We have the government on the back foot. They were shaken by the 11th of October. It's rocked them to their core. They're scrambling around, trying to find some way to diffuse the anger, to placate the people. It ain't going to work. The only thing that will work is the scrapping of the water charges. But we need to build. Today's been fantastic to see so many people, but we want the next local protest to be 3 times as big. We want the next national demonstration to be 5 times bigger than the 11th of October. And that means each and every one of us get involved in whatever way, shape or form that we can. So I would appeal to people, if they come up to me at the end, I'll take your name and number and you'll go on the list for the local Right to Water campaign in the area. You've another 29 executives on that Irish Water Board on €100,000 apiece. They get car allowances of €10,500. They get a gym worth 55 grand. Right? They're on a performance-related payment structure. It's not a bonus. No. It's a performance-related payment structure, not bonuses, right? And if you're doing a bad job, they're actually going to reward you with a pay-related bonus, right? So as to, encourage you to do that wee bit better. The arrogance of them. They actually thought that we would accept this, right? That it was now their turn, having been in opposition for so long, that now Fine Gael and Labour, they had their hands on the levers of power. Now it's their turn to let all their friends, the consultancy firms, the big corporations, now it's their turn to dole out the goodies. But shame on them. They are stupid, because they actually thought we would take this line down. We had a massive campaign against the household charge. We had a massive campaign against the local property tax. What did they do when 1 million people didn't register and pay the household charge? They were shaken to their core again. But what did they do? They gave collection of the LPT, the local property tax, to the big beast, the revenue commissioners. They left people with no room to manoeuvre. They took it from your pension, from your pay packet, and from your goal. Shameful behaviour. Imagine that. Somebody on a state pension, and they're taking a property tax directly from the one asset most working class people will ever own is a house that they make into a home, and they come after it and tax it. Shame on them. Having spent 30-40 years on my own pens paying off a mortgage, they come back when they're in the mid-70s to take €300-400 off them. Take it from them. Shameful behaviour. Thieving. They thieved it. They robbed it from us, right? And so that, they should have known better. They are stupid, you're right. They are stupid. They should have known. That was an indication that the people were fed up, were angry, and were getting organised. But we weren't organised enough. We couldn't get the unions on board. But now there's been a shift. Because water is the one thing that links every single one of us. It's a fundamental human need. It's a human right. And we should not have to pay twice for it. They're trying to commodify it, and it's set up in such a way that they will be easily privatised in 8 to 10, 12 years' time. That's what we'll have. And as your bills go up, and the shareholders' dividends go up, the quality of the water you receive will go down. It will be shocking. So it's here and now that we defeat them. We did it 20 years ago. They tried it in the mid-90s, and People Power beat them back then. and the Rainbow Coalition had to drop the water charges back then. Every generation, it seems, they tried to do this, introduce the water charge, commodify water, and hopefully down the line, privatise it. Well, they're trying it again. They're trying it again. They're trying to blame the Troika. It's not the Troika. Fine Gael's New Era plan in 2009 had the water charges, Irish water, in black and white. This is the Irish political class trying to do this, right? And Labour, most shamefully, forgetting what they had promised people in order to get votes, have gone along with Fine Gael. What is the point of the Labour Party? They warned us off the single party Fine Gael government. They said, put us in with them, we'll take off the hard right-wing edges off them. And what have they done? They've gone hook, line and sinker with them, to the point where you now, the General President of the largest trade union in the country, a man who likes to shake his hands like Jim Larkin, Jack O'Connor, coming out and trying to diffuse the anger over the water charges yesterday, trying to bully us by saying, if you don't pay your water charge, your income tax is going to go up. This is shameful. He's forgotten his own pre-budget submission where he advocated a financial transactions tax. Start taxing the wealth in this country. Increase corporation tax by 1%. You get an extra 300 million each and every year. They won't do it. Increase income tax on the highest earners. They won't do it. But they'll come after you time and again. It's shameful. But this is the turning point. This is where we say enough is enough, no more. We demand our right to water. It should never be based upon our ability to pay. Right, so folks, come here. I would suggest we have a meeting, the leaflets, hopefully you got a few of the leaflets for November the 12th, Wednesday in the Cllr, where we're going to have another local meeting of the Right to Water campaign, where we can come together and discuss the issues and how do we build a massive campaign that shakes not only the local councillors and TDs to the very core, but actually is part of a wider national movement that has the potential to topple this Fine Gael Labour Party sitting out government. So I'd encourage everyone to get to that meeting on the 12th, and also to leave your details with me if you haven't already received texts or phone calls or emails from us, because it's together that we'll defeat them. So I'll open it up. If people want to say a bit more words, or do you want to wrap it up with a few chants?
Yes!
Yeah, just to say that there is a city centre event. There's a major event happening in town. What's happening is local protests right across the city of Dublin. There's about 20 of them happening right now, as one of the speakers have mentioned. But there's also a city centre based event beginning at 2 p.m, where the north side are going to meet at Connolly Station, and the south side are coming in to meet at Houston Station. And we're going to march along the quays and meet up and end up on O'Connell Street. So in order to give people time, that's why we decided to call the protest for 11 o'clock, to allow people who want to go in to get in there in good time. So I would encourage people, we're going to be in there, Granger's Pub, outside Granger's Pub at 1:45 with our banners. Hopefully somebody else will take the megaphone off me. But if nobody else was the same, I'd like to thank you all sincerely for coming along, because this is how we change the country.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions.